my mom's ex-boyfriend. He would get drunk all the time. Over any little thing, he would hit me with anything he could find. And I had to grow up with that for about 9 years. For a while, I was blaming my mom because I always thought it was her fault why everything wrong went in my life. I would always fear that. Like whenever I would come home from school, that I always get hit and stuff. So I didn't really want to come home. That's what made me not care about my life that much. I thought nobody cared about me, and I thought I was just here just to be here, going out and partying all the time, doing drugs and having sex. That made me feel like nothing. It made me feel just like I was used. And then I had this one friend, like we were talking all the time, and she would tell me that I should come to church, and instead of going out and numbing the pain like that, Pastor Gabriel, I started opening up to him and all that, and he's like helped me, like he'll tell me things, and like some things I wouldn't understand, and I would tell him, and then he'll break it down to where I can understand it. Now it's like I can open up to people more instead of always holding them in. One of the things that made me worry and fearful, not being able to go to heaven, because like all the things I've done, it's like it makes me think, like what if I died today? I won't be able to go to heaven. I would do anything to go back and change that instead of doing all that stuff. Not drinking and smoking or having sex.
When a teenager says to me, you don't know what I've done, I can't be forgiven, the stuff I've done is so bad, how could God forgive me? And what I do is I look them in the eyes and I say, you don't know how much God loves you. Okay? There's nothing that you have done that hasn't been done by somebody else and that God can't forgive. That is the essence and the character of God. From the beginning of the Bible to the back of the Bible and everywhere in between is the character of God that says, I love you so much, I'm going to die in your place so that I can have a relationship with you.
I had a lot of anger problems and I didn't know how to deal with it, and the world around you is telling you that you need to be perfect to be accepted or be cool, and everyone wants to be perfect, and so I decided to become anorexic and just take the anger and become perfect and just do everything to myself. That way no one else got hurt in the process, but other people did get hurt in the process. I hated the world and I just hated everyone around me because I had gotten myself into such a bad place that I thought it was all their fault. And then when I got older, I realized that the world isn't everything it's cracked up to be. It's not perfect, and people are mean. And that's when I started to question God. I was like, well, if He loved me and He loved the world as much as He says He does, then why on earth would He make people as mean as they are? I didn't understand it at all. And I slowly started losing my faith in God, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. If God loved me, He wouldn't force this on me. He wouldn't put mean people in the world to come against me, and He wouldn't definitely make me have bad thoughts about myself. I was angry at God at first, and then I just totally thought He didn't exist, because I thought if He existed, He for sure would have given me a sign by now that I'm going to get better and things are going to be great. But then when I realized I was anorexic and I was down at the very bottom, that I just was like, He doesn't exist, because I wouldn't be here if He did. I was searching for the feeling of acceptance and love in places that I shouldn't have been searching, and I've done things that I regret in my search for God. But I've found God, so it's not as devastating as it would be if I were still doing those things. I think without God, I wouldn't be where I am now. I think I would definitely still be struggling every day to even eat a bite, but now it's a lot better. When I have my hard times, I pray about it, and He really shows through. And it's amazing to me that He can help me in just the simplest ways.
Some people doubt Christianity because they're angry with God. That's where Chelsea was. They're upset at how things are turning out. If God is all-powerful, and if He is as loving as we say, then why is there so much evil in the world? They would love to believe in a God of love, but how can this God tolerate so much suffering?
One of the number one questions I get asked by teenagers is, how can God be such a loving God when there's so much pain and hurt in the world? Well, I have learned over the years that never to be surprised by sin and pain and hurt. God didn't cause that. But what God did is He loved us so much that He said, I love you so much, I want to give you free choice. And within a world where there's free choice, there is going to be pain and people are going to make bad choices, and that's going to hurt. It doesn't mean God stops loving. It just means people are making bad decisions. And you know what? There are just some things that can't be answered by our finite little minds, our minds that can only think that much, because God is an infinite God. And if I could understand everything there is about God, He wouldn't be God. He would be understandable. Does that mean you shouldn't doubt? No. I think, if you have doubts, that's a normal part of your journey and your spiritual adventure, is to doubt. But in those doubts, go after truth. Find out answers. Investigate. Because truth has nothing to hide. And if you go after truth, you'll find it.